Imagine a platform where some of Britain's biggest stars have the opportunity to reflect and celebrate their biggest professional accomplishments in a lovely, relaxed, chatty space. Since 2016, Josh Barry's Beyond the Title has celebrated the great and good of entertainment from showbiz legends to rising stars and everyone in between, who have each provided an insight into their remarkable careers in the public eye. So join Josh and the team as another significant figure in entertainment shares their unique anecdotes and stories exclusively on Beyond the Title.
Writer, actress and comedian Helen Lederer emerged out of the alternative comedy boom of the early 1980s to become one of Britain's most versatile and enduring character actors. A brief stint at Don Ward's infamous Comedy Store during the 1980s alongside French and Saunders, Rick and Aid and their contemporaries spawned one of her first TV credits in the BBC Two series Naked Video. This was followed by a reunion with college friends French and Saunders and Harriet Thorpe in the ITV sitcom Girls on Top. In 1992, Lederer was cast as the gormless Catriona, alongside Harriet Thorpe's Fleur in Jennifer Saunders' satirical glance at the PR industry in Absolutely Fabulous. I caught up with the writer and performer at the Isle of Wight Literary Festival, where she was promoting her autobiography, Not That I'm Bitter, to talk comedy, friendship and her recollections on a glittering career in British entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, Helen Lederer. So, Helen, welcome to Beyond the Title. How did it feel to be at the Isle of Wight Literary Festival recently? And how did you feel about showcasing your new work?
Well, it was lovely being in the Isle of Wight because it reminded me that my mother actually was born there. And that is kind of quite unusual to go to a place where your mother was born and it's an island.
Mm.
And she always told me that she came from the wrong side of cows. So I got quite busy trying to find out which the right side, what was the wrong side, what was the right side. And then I understood there was a joke about the floating bridge that never worked, that
Yeah.
worked for centuries, and then a new thing happened. So I learned a lot, but it made me want to go back and actually find some things out because she has an Isle of Wight name called Ablett. And it was just fascinating meeting people, some of whom there's a word for people who've lived on the Isle of Wight all their lives, and I can't remember, but there's an interesting word. What is the word?
Porkheads, I think.
Yes, Corkheads, that's it. And then there are lots of people who've moved there and love it.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any police there. So there's probably no crime.
They so this case.
They sold all the police stations. Apparently, they sold all.
Oh, did they? Or turn them into flats, maybe, or
Yeah.
something. Caravan park.
And you've just written your long-awaited autobiography, Not That I'm Bitter. What were the elements of the writing process that surprised you?
Um, oh, that surprised me. Well, I had to just go for it. There were bits that I enjoyed writing, and then I got quite challenged I wanted the comedy narrative to make all the bits. I wanted it to be a funny narrative. Essentially, as I said in the Isle of Wight, that I wanted people to read it and laugh. And I'm told that people have done that. I hope. Have you? I hope you have, Josh. You know, to the narrative.
Yeah.
But there've also been bits. Obviously, you can't write a memoir without the sticky bits. And I wanted to write that in a particular way with a bit of economy. So it wasn't kind of maudlin or sad, but there could be a kind of absurdity to it. So that was a challenge. So so I labored over that, but that was worth it because I hope there's a consistency in it.
The more you I heavy off right it or it's something that you won't see yourself.
Were you asked to write it, or was it something you decided that you wanted to do for yourself?
Yeah, no, nobody asked me to. And I think I probably chose to do it at a time when all the posh publishers were going, oh, well, because they have to give this big advance to so-called celebrities. I'm not, a lot of the book is about, humorously, I hope, not being an A-list celebrity, whatever that, I'm quite comfortable with that. I've got no choice, but also I'm comfortable with it. I think it's funny. So I think I got turned down by a lot of the posh ones. Um, but I was just so thrilled that Mirror Books picked it up. And then I said to them when I sent it all off, I said, "Do you want me to take anything out?" They said, "Don't take anything out." And I've absolutely loved going to literary festivals and book events with my book and meeting people. And to me, that is honestly the best bit about writing the memoir. I mean, I know you could do that with a novel. I hope to intend to write one next year, but just, whether you go with a novel or a memoir, obviously it's more personal with a memoir.
Mm.
But I love being irreverent. I love the fact that I assume the press aren't going to be there or be unkind. And I don't say anything too scurrilous, but what's the point of getting to this age and not saying it how it was for me?
Yeah.
So, and I think people connect with that, whether there's 50 people in the room or more. Sometimes there's more. There were more in Isle of Wight. I'm absolutely loving it.
Mm.
Too much, maybe.
Yeah.
And did you have any heroes growing up?
Well, I loved watching Monty Python because that was my generation. So I just think we all have our comedy programs where we connect and
Yeah.
it means everything to us. We can watch without our parents. We feel bad. We feel like the window is opening on a whole world that we haven't quite got to, but we want to be. It's aspirational and it makes you laugh. So I think I love David Frost. Like you wouldn't know that, you're too young, but
Yeah.
just any kind of satirical format where people were being live and irreverent, and authentic, very exciting. I mean, where would we be without comedy programs? I think it's so important.
And say it of and really hate and um, work.
Um, David Frost was really the first person to take anything overseas and work over there.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you.
Uh, um,
Oh, taken ownership.
the um, work.
Sorry, taken ownership over his own work. He was one of the first to take an ownership over his own.
Yeah, right. Yes. But also as well, he did become a chat show host in America as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
So as an individual, he became known. I mean, what was he? He didn't sort of fall into any category, and I kind of that appeals to me because I don't think I necessarily do. But you know that the person is very witty and bright and gets and makes things happen. A sort of conduit, but also being a leader and just any person who's witty is very appealing and really important.
Yeah. I was luck enough to know Bobby well, and he over is it had been protected that genuinely more go yeah from
Josh said he was lucky enough to know Barry Cryer.
Oh,
He said that if it wasn't for David Frost, that generation probably wouldn't have had a platform.
interesting. Yeah. And of course, Barry, I mean, mustn't get too sad. Everyone dies at some point, but he's one of the greats. I
Yeah.
did do a gig with Barry Cryer and a person called Sheila Stiefel. And I remember taking this, it wasn't speed, but it was like very odd. I think they were like Pro Plus. And I had a little bit of a turn before I went on stage. I think Sheila, I'm blaming it on Sheila. She offered them, it was something.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was very understanding,
Mm,
but um,
mm,
and I ended up doing something or other. But yes, I mean, I think you look at people who create waves. But Barry kind of, what's interesting about Barry Cryer is that he kind of traversed all generations, you know, like the young people revered him. He wrote for young people, his peer group, whatever. So the good people stand out.
Yeah.
Equally, comedy has to change and reflect where we're at. It has to, because that's its job. So I should be more up to speed with what the young people are doing at the moment, but I'm busy doing my own stuff at the moment. So
Don Ward's Comedy Store is cited by many as the birthplace of alternative comedy. Why do you think it was so important to performers of your generation?
it's so important to perform for my
Sorry,
gen.
performers of your
Oh
generation.
yeah. Well, because there was a venue, you've got to have a venue. I suppose you could sort of do a street theatre and hope people listen. In fact, there was a bit of that going on, Covent Garden and things. In fact, there was a guy called Randolph the Remarkable who had a washing up bowl and he put his stomach into it as a sort of suction thing. And that was an amazing act. Now, I'm sure he would have been on the Comedy Store at some point. So there was a mix of turns, of acts, of input, which was very exciting that you didn't have rules. You know, it was a place
Yeah,
where people would come and if they were any good, they survived.
yeah,
So, like anything, that was a building where people where it got a reputation, and we went there. I didn't do it many times. I didn't find it particularly easy or pleasant myself. And now it's a great big industry, and corporate groups of people go and have wine and watch the improv team. So great. I'm not in that. Not that I'm bitter. Title of my book. Yep.
mm.
Um, and obviously you and Josh have a mutual friend in the absolutely fabulous Harriet Thorpe.
We do.
Do you remember the first time you met her, and what was it about her that made you develop such a chemistry?
The first time I met Harriet, I think, although my memory, was on something called Girls on Top, which I can't remember who wrote it, but it was French and Saunders were in it. Ruby Wax was in it. Ruby Wax was in it, and a lovely actress who's very old even then, um, and Tracy Ullman. And I think we were destined to sort of be placed together somehow, in peripheral roles
Mm.
in comedy programs such as that and Ab Fab, and you know, a great opportunity, something unique for us.
Yeah.
So we are bonded by that, I think. Yeah.
And I run move go home to receive home chat
Say that again, sorry.
home go home 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 chat
Was Girls on Top Paul Jackson?
Yeah, Paul Jackson produced that. And he, as you know, I'm because I know you're an aficionado and all this, did the young one. So, you know, it takes producers to go, right, this is what I want to do. And at that time, a lot of programs were being made. And I say in the book, you know, like there were pilots, like really rubbish programs. I was always going down to Southampton to record a pilot of some kind, strange programs where you'd meet random people like Roy Hattersley and Janet Street Porter guessing the price of houses. It was it was just mad. But or funny programs as well with Tony Slattery about music. Programs were being made, but that was the era, and Paul Jackson did champion a lot of those early programs, certainly.
Mm. Um, and in 1992, following a sketch on the French and Saunders show, Jennifer Saunders created a satirical glimpse at the PR industry in the sitcom Absolutely Fabulous. What do you think it was about Britain's attitude to the world of PR that required lampooning?
Hmm. Um, well, I think that it was a time, although it spawned 20 years, they kept making them, didn't they? Not every week, but it endured. But I think originally the setting was a time of loads of money, and loads of money character Harry Enfield only became, well, apart from its merit in itself, but it reflected a time, and go back to the point of like comedy reflecting a time so accurately that there was money, yuppies, was it?
Mm,
Just loads of money, and
mm,
which we haven't seen again. So excess, events occurring at the drop of a hat and champagne appearing, and who somebody paid for it. And so it obviously worked. There was money somewhere to be had. And I think it was loud and blousy and large and colourful and made fun of it. And was kind of good natured but quite cruel all together, which obviously gives you the bite
Mm.
because comedy's got to have bite, otherwise it's a bit dull.
Yeah. Um, Supporting characters have formed the backbone of the British comedy landscape. But why do you think Ab Fab was able to create an entire ensemble of characters that were individual in their own right?
Um, I think a lot of very talented individuals, sort of genius casting, timing, where people were at, a combination of things, and then people being able to go off and do their own thing. Jane Horrocks was wonderful, like such an established actress, always doing her own thing. Joanna, known for all the things that she'd done before, like I'm thinking the Purdy Cup, the Avengers, like in her own right, but it was the right time for her. June Whitfield, known as a kind of very conventional,
mm,
sitcom artist, everyone in their own right coming together.
Mm.
And then myself from the comedy circuit and Harriet from, acting. I mean, very, very good actor. So slightly different, but great comedy actor, obviously. Somehow we all just plopped in there at the same time and carried on doing our own thing as well, hopefully. I always wanted to try and do my own thing.
In 2000, the cast of Absolutely Fabulous returned for a brand new sitcom, Mirrorball. What advice
Oh,
would you
I
give?
wasn't in that. I wasn't cast in that one, but you can't be in
mm,
everything. And it's good to try. Obviously, if you're going to do something and not repeat the formula, you're going to do it with a different cast, she
Yeah.
said generously.
I,
I don't know about Mirrorball. I didn't watch it, but I'm sure it was excellent.
I,
He thought you were in it.
No, that's fine. I'm quite happy that there's so many things I'm not in, Josh. I think we have to kind of pinpoint the ones I was in. Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully this next one's right then.
Let's fingers crossed. Yeah.
Uh, Josh was surprised to learn that you did Celebrity Big Brother.
Yes, correct. I was in
Brilliant,
that.
brilliant. That one's all
The
right.
surprise wasn't too much because it was a lot of money, which I talked about the Isle of Wight. It's shocking. But I would say reality shows didn't exist when I began doing stand up. I think they're relatively recent, and now they are the mainstay of TV. That's not a judgment. That's just what's happened.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that was the most enjoyable experience of my life, but it was quite crazy.
Mm.
Yeah.
What was it like being seen by that sort of a different kind of audience to maybe what you were used to being viewed by?
Well, I think you just have to be yourself and be quite strong and go with the punches because at the end of the day, you are making a TV program, you will knowingly do it, but you're also surviving with each other and you can't, and that the energy there's a lot of energy about just kind of getting along with people 24/7 that you've never met before or heard of,
Yeah.
in a lot of cases, which is fine. Just mix and match people existing. Quite mad, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, when you go in your plan, just the effort in the time months ago that way were he live in a house or he and he
When you started your career, did you ever think fame would sort of go the way that we're seeing it now, where people have to sort of live in a house together, or as Josh eloquently put, the kangaroo penis?
The kangaroo, what was that? What does that mean?
The was it?
when they go on
I'm a celebrity. When they go on I'm a Celebrity, they eat.
Oh, of course. Sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. I mean, I think again, that it games. It's like games, cruel games. Maybe it kind of goes back to Roman times, gladiatorial times, where you're entertaining people, and it's a bit harsh.
Mm,
But you kind of need so-called known people or influencers now to be in the cast. So there's a formula.
mm,
So I think it's just the way it is, isn't it? I think people still maybe go to the theatre and see plays because there is a value in that, or read a book. So I
yeah,
think there's probably room for everything. And that is, you can't put, this is what we're dealing with. So yeah, it's best not to be too, I have to not be too snotty about it because I'm paying a lot of money. And, there we are.
but when I driven from but yes, when of reality how often what we can I haven't done anything.
Josh's been doing the podcast for 9 years, and when he's had like reality stars on there, he struggled to think of like what sort of things to ask them because they maybe haven't done the traditional
Different things.
stuff that yeah that he's
Yeah, but I can understand that. So then, I mean, it's like with TikTok. I mean, that's a whole culture that has got legs and meaning and stuff, and I haven't quite got my head around that. So maybe, and I've noticed you can't. People say you can't actually even predict what gets lots of views. That's so. I think maybe we're all kind of in a place where we don't quite know
yeah
why something sticks or engages. Because in fact, people could just do nothing or just point at a tree, and
yeah
that might become a TikTok
Yeah.
sensation. And maybe we're just living in times which, you know, is yeah, I struggle with it
yeah
because you can't control it and it's not tangible. But we have to go, to be entertained by someone is so wonderful and so special when you get it. Well, you've got to celebrate that.
yeah. And you're no stranger to the podcast format. What was the inspiration behind the BBC Sound show Knock Knock?
Oh yeah, they asked me to do that, which is great. I mean, I love being asked to do jobs, and I like doing different things. I mean, I've just finished doing 40 Towers on the West End. They're all on tour. I'm not with them. Feel slightly, should I've gone? But no, I couldn't tour for a year because I like doing different things. So
Mm,
the podcast Knock Knock was the premise. They got the money. I think it was BBC Radio. They got the money because you'd be interviewing comedians that were at the top of their game at the bottom of of the pile, if you like, sort of known but haven't made it. So that was exciting. So you met real comedians. They were genuine comedians, brains of comedians, but in different regions. And I just love chatting to them because then you just kind of riff with them because have the similar kind of brain where you go off on tangents and you just play and you basically very playful people. And there is a tribe to that. And the world's full of different types of people. But personally, I do like a bit of a playful banter with someone where you don't even know what you're talking about, but it's fun.
Yeah, okay. I think later interview a lot more in.
You say you think those sort of interviews are a lot more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because absolutely, I agree. Because you just know you're going to engage, and then you go down a road, but you also know that that person loves making people laugh. So there's a sort of funny bone
Yeah.
for anyone to, because I met them when they'd been found by someone, so they're obviously gigging,
Yeah.
so they'd survived. So they were doing it. They were survivors, good enough to be survivors.
And what about from a cat? How how much that in the quick set uh,
How did you find the adaptation of the from a sitcom to a stage with the Faulty Towers thing?
Oh. Um, yeah, that was interesting because I just come off the first bit of the book tour where the whole purpose of kind of being in a room is to look at the audience and to engage with the audience and to get them to ask questions and to talk to them afterwards and just be all one unique experience for that night. And then you go, oh, I'm wearing a wig. I've got lines. I must stick to the lines, must remember the lines, and not engage with the audience at all. So that wall was just like up there. Whereas
Yeah.
like a stand-up, the wall's taken away. It's still performing, but different. So I got quite scared to start with because I had to just not look at the audience.
Mm.
So it's but you get you but I love doing both. I do admire actors who just are so professional and just do it. I quite liked it when things went wrong personally though, because something dropped once on the stage and I said something because I thought, well, it's dropped. Everyone's heard the thing drop. I mean, do we comment? Do we not comment? I mean, you can't just ignore it. So I did say something and they did clap apparently, but everyone was like, what's happened? But I don't know if you're breaking rules or not, but in comedy, I think you've got to be able, and it was, a comedy, you've got to be able to go with things.
Yeah.
And I think the audience then feel part of it. And
Yeah.
that is the whole thing about connecting everyone up.
Mm.
yeah, how did man he let the set in way?
Did it make you look at the sitcom in a slightly different way by doing it on the stage yourself?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think because the Fawlty Towers, John Cleese put 3 episodes together to write this play. And I met someone yesterday who I can't believe people love comedy so much they would know lines even. I didn't watch it enough at the time. Um, so that was a farce, I think, and it's a farce, and it was kind of nostalgic. It was set in the 70s. There's something quite true about that. I don't know where sitcom is now. I haven't done a sitcom. I want to do a sitcom. I mean, my own or be part of like a funny one.
Yeah.
But it maybe the fashion is people don't like being told to laugh in such a dictatorial way. You got to look at what people want. Maybe you need a bit and mockumentary that's been done. I still like Larry David. I think the Americans do it so well. They're kind of at ease with it.
Mm.
So the jury's out. I want to do a sitcom before I pop my clogs.
Yeah, I believe was talking. Yeah, 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 appreciate about how government and state say the shit follow how did you the sitcom will evolve in the future?
Um, he was talking to Larry Lamb the other day about how
Oh,
Gavin and Stacey sort of saved the sitcom. But how do you think sitcoms will sort of evolve in the future?
hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How people, like everyone watches Strictly. I don't, but there's nothing. It's just amazing how many people like to group together and watch a program, and then it becomes a barometer of something. It's the power. What did we do before television? I mean, it's quite interesting, isn't it? How, who's dictating, who's leading who. Um, yeah, because there's a lot of things that make something famous and notorious. Sometimes, with the star system, it's like if you've got somebody attached that's, I don't know, it's fascinating. I like to find an obscure, funny, weird Scandinavian sitcom hiding away in YouTube, and I want to find that funny thing because
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be big and famous to be funny, but I suppose it helps.
Mm.
Yeah, and that is how that will make you what in real life is in a room.
The fact that they're sort of like half an hour episodes makes you watch it in real life,
Yeah,
if you know what you
Yeah, yeah, sort of self-contained episodes,
yeah,
I suppose. I mean, I think once you identify with the characters,
mean.
and then you've got a subject, that either kind of ends on a cliffhanger or not, and then yeah, I think it's all character-led, isn't it?
Yeah.
But half hour, yeah, it's not going to kill you to watch something. I like things short. My attention span is so bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't watch. Although I am watching Married at First Sight, but I'm mixing my Married with First Sight, but I can't watch it all with the Traitors, which when I was in the Isle of Wight, I was very disparaging because they were all national treasures, and I was being very sniffy about that. And then I watched it, I thought, okay, this is engaging. Although again, once you get the formula, then I need to be interested. It's my problem. I've got attention deficit. That's what I've got.
Um, Josh has spoken to and studied the careers of many actors, and it strikes him that there's two sets of actors. One group who has to hide behind a character in order to feel safe through fear of feeling exposed, and another who embraces the whole sphere of entertainment and is happy to be themselves just as much as they like being in character.
Hmm.
In your opinion, what description best describes you, and what is the process you've gone through to differentiate yourself from the roles you play?
Well, I kind of sit in the middle of those because I do love it when you understand a character. I mean, I did love being in Amphab. I mean, she was an airhead, not too far from me, but I loved stepping into that and kind of hoping it was right.
Yeah.
So there's a joy in that. But also I like the power of just taking a mask off and just connecting and being fast with the brain. But someone like Billy Connolly, who obviously is scripted. I mean, he's the genius. So if I had loads of material and I could go off script, I think that would be my favorite, but the most terrifying.
Mm.
So nothing is easy, I would say.
Um, and looking back at your career, what would you say your proudest achievement is?
Well, I don't do that really because I was brought up not to boast. I don't. No, I'd struggle with that one. I would start. Yeah, I do, I keep going. I
Yeah.
keep going because I think everything you've done in the past defines how you can deal with what's happening now.
Yeah.
So I'm just going at the moment. I've set up Comedy Women in Print Prize. That's absorbing me, driving me crackers. It's a passion project where witty women writers get a publishing deal and we celebrate really good witty women authors. So I'm doing that at the moment
Mm.
and begging for sponsorship and becoming a very different kind of person. So, but that's a passion project. So that's important.
Mm.
I can't remember what the question was. So I think you have to be in the present
Yeah.
and just think a little bit ahead. I don't tend to look back because things is just so different. Things keep evolving.
But sorry, when you were writing the book, there must be something that you maybe thought, oh, that was good.
When you were writing the book, was there anything that you sort of thought that you remembered back on that you were maybe proud on or enjoyed doing or anything like that?
Um, well, I found the stand-up comedy quite difficult, but I didn't question. I mean, but I was it's what I wanted to do, so
Yeah.
that's the main thing. And then I quite liked the radio that came soon after that, BBC Radio, because then you'd have these kind of audiences that clapped whatever you did, and it was just like shocking. They were just so full of enthusiasm, which was so different from stand-up community where you have to kind of like force people to just not boo you off or look at their watches. So I quite liked going from a hard situation to a situation that was very welcoming and you could still be funny. You know, you were doing comedy in both scenarios. So of course it's nicer if people are nice. I think nice people are much more pleasurable as an audience.
And just finally, you've given us a little taste there. But what's next for Helen Lederer? What sort of things have you got planned coming up?
The Comedy Women in Print Prize has got to be given to the celebrated witty women authors, and then I've got to see how that grows. So that will be the straight job.
Mhm.
I want to do something very exciting and different in the field of comedy, maybe on a different platform, because getting into Radio 4 is like Fort Knox. You just forget it. Nobody gets a program on Radio 4 anymore. I just want to do something creative that's funny. So I'm hoping to do a comedy, and I don't know where it will be seen.
Mm.
So I just want to do something new and exciting with nice people. Who doesn't? That's very normal.
Oh, you kind of write it.
Are you going to write it?
Yes, but I realize I've done so much stuff on my own and in my office room here. I can't even show you. There are so many scripts that have got rejected, or so many treatments and so many kind of ideas I haven't chucked away. So, but I would have to be part of the creative process
Yeah.
and with like-minded people. And I think that's the trick.
Yeah.
It's difficult to do everything on your own, but I don't like doing what I'm told. So it was nice to be in Fawlty Towers. I'd love to be in another play where you do what you're told, but it's quite nice to not do that as well.
So you could do your own shit.
So you just want to do your own shit, is what it does.
Yeah, I do. That would be nice if somebody let me do it and paid me tuppence for it. Let's do it.
What kind of and
What a great way to end.
Oh, it's been great.
Thank you very much for your
Yeah,
time.
send my love to the Isle of Wight.
Yeah, we
I'll
will
be
do.
back.
Thank you very much to our wonderful guest for being the subject of another Beyond the Title episode. If you like this, why not browse the website and see if there's anything else you like? We're now on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. everywhere, quite frankly. Don't forget to like our Facebook page to receive updates on forthcoming interviews, and please do give this podcast a little share. Not in a shoop-shoop song kind of way, you understand, although that's probably quite welcome. Thanks again. Hopefully see you next time. From all of us here, goodbye.